Over the years, I remember hearing in the community that I grew up in, and talk about it somewhat in the podcast, that Nebuch so-and-so became a teacher. Unfortunately, he became a teacher. He didn't make it to become a lawyer, doctor, or an Indian chief. Interestingly enough, the home in which I grew up and the people that I have found probably most fascinating, they took seriously the blessing that the Ribono Shel Olam is Melamed HaMelamed Torah LaAmo Yisrael. The Ribono Shel Olam teaching is an act of imitatio Deus. It's Lihidomos V'Drochav. The Ribono Shel Olam is a teacher. Frequently, over the years, I heard people refer to GBS, George Bernard Shaw, who was quoted as saying, "Those who can do, those who cannot do, teach." And we used to add, "And those who can't teach, teach teachers. And those who can't teach teachers, write textbooks." But we held not like that. And there were two GBSs that over the years were chelek, it's a machlekes. And we paskin not like, lahavdil, not like the GBS with the people, the Gottlieb, Breitowitz, Schiller, the GBS of Or Sameach. But there was another GBS. There was Grandma Bobby Schiller. We had a portrait of her father hanging on the wall. And he was a Melamed in Minsk. And she used to point to him and say, "Stell sich vor, Kinder." Imagine how many people he gave in Yiddishkeit that carried it on, that passed it on to another generation. Sometimes it skipped a generation. Sometimes it went straight forward. There were eruptions, trauma, all kinds of static to try and divert the message, but somehow much of it got through enough. Ki yodativ lemana sheyetzave es bonav es beiso achorov. The Ribono Shel Olam has given us knowledge, gave it to Avram, so that we should pass it on in the relay race of life. That's what much of the podcasts, the musings, the memories are all about. I've always thought of a biography, Ruminations of Ruminants. A ruminant is an animal that chews its cud. And ruminations are chewing the cud of what happened earlier, what went on earlier. How accurate are we? Hard to know. But we'll need some objective arbiter one day. Unlikely that history will do a better job than we, because we're closer to it, and being subjectively engaged is inescapable. The so-called posture of objectivity is an illusion. We're all engaged one way or another. And in fact, when people have asked me over the years, "Rabbi, isn't it a problem that you come into Or Sameach and everybody's treating you so nicely and everybody is so friendly and warm and speaks to the point. And now we're going to have a magnificent Beis Medrash and make it even more of a predisposition to think, well, these guys must be right if they're so nice. What's the answer? The answer is that every one of us is a biological, a psychological entity, that we have certain urgencies and needs and predispositions that are pushing us, inclinations, in a direction of indulgence, like the child up till bar mitzvah. The most we can do, if you take a paper box, 4 sides, create a vacuum. Inside, the walls collapse. The most we can do is create some alternative energy to keep a balance. Yes, I have asked the staff at Osamer to be obnoxious so that the student could be more easily objective. They don't listen. What can I do? Part of these podcasts are about sharing a taste, a tam, and maybe awakening an appetite. The Maram Shik says, Tamu u'u ki tov Hashem, taste and see that the Rebbeinu Shalom is good. In a sense, that's our motto. Says the Maram Shik, that's from Tilim the Posik, obviously. Tamu, sometimes you're not hungry, and you're told, begin to eat a little bit. You're not consciously hungry. But if the food is good enough, it awakens an appetite. My grandmother again used to say, mit dem Essen kommt der Appetit. Sometimes the food is so good that with the indulging and the tasting, tamu, begin eating, taste it, and then you'll see, Ure'uh, then you'll see and you'll know, ki tov Hashem. Sure, we want you to listen to the podcast, but we want you to listen to the podcast because we want you to come visit Osamer and sit in on some shiurim to learn Tamu Ure'uh ki tov Hashem.